All right, welcome to the Hockey Central Saturday's post-game show on Hockey Night in Canada. Men in comfortable red chairs. We're going to hear from Roberto Luongo and Cam Talbot. We're also going to hear a little bit from Jaromir Jagr tonight, as Jaromir had a monster evening. 2 goals, one that tied him with Brett Hull and one that allowed him to surpass Brett Hull for 3rd most goals NHL all time. But all that is still to come. Let's be in the moment, shall we? Avs and Oilers, if you're just tuning in, and why wouldn't you? We're at zeros when Taylor Hall throws in his 20th of the year. Very quickly after that, Mitchell's going to score his 9th of the year from Como and Tyson Barrie. Tyson Barrie's name is going to come up several times. That was his first point on the night. What you're going to see right now is his second. This is Tyson Barrie's 9th goal of the year from McGinley and Duchesne. And not too long after that, early in the 3rd, Tyson Barrie picks up his 10th. He was pushing hard for the Hattie as well, especially when there was a lot of empty net time. But the Colorado Avalanche down the Edmonton Oilers by a score of 3-2. 25 saves for Pickard, 26 from Talbot. And why don't we hear from the man himself right now? Cam Talbot standing by with Cassie Campbell Pascal. Cass?
Thank you very much, George. And Cam, thanks for joining us, obviously. And I guess just what the message from Todd McClellan was to you guys after the game, because a great finish. Obviously not what you wanted, but a great finish.
Yeah, I mean, the guys battled hard there in the last 4 minutes when it was 6-on-5. Got a big goal from Pooley there, and we made a good push, but ultimately couldn't bury the tying goal there.
Well, Cam, let's just kind of try and forget about this game if you can and just get to know you a little bit more. And we'll take you back to your junior days with the Hamilton Red Wings. And your dad actually sent this footage to us, so I hope you remember exactly what it is, but just the key importance of playing in Hamilton. Yeah,
I mean, it was my home center for junior A, and made it, I think it was my 2nd year trying out as a 17-year-old, went in as a backup, and they traded the starting goalie at the trade deadline, so I got a chance to start the last few games, and then took over the starting role from there for the next 2 years, and ended up getting a scholarship down to Alabama Huntsville. Describe how that happens, because, we were just talking before we came on the air. You're the only current player that's played at that university that's playing in the NHL. So it's not necessarily a very, popular way to go about it, but it was one of your only offers as a scholarship, full ride. Yeah, it was my first offer, and full rides don't come around that often. Anytime you get a full ride like that, it's tough to turn down, and they flew me down for a visit and stuff like that. I love the campus, like the dorms and stuff like that. So it was kind of a no-brainer after that, and it ended up, it's a different path, but one that I think it was well-earned and a lot of hard work that went into it. Well, and that path actually leads you full circle here to the Edmonton Oilers, because the assistant coach at that time was a guy by the name of John McCabe, who played with your current assistant coach, Jay Woodcroft, and he actually called John before they traded for you here to get a little scoop on you. Yeah, actually I saw John McCabe down when we played Nashville at the beginning of the year, and he told me that Jay had called him and wanted to make sure, check on my work ethic and stuff like that, and make sure I was a good kid before they went out and traded for me. So it was nice of John to give me a ringing endorsement. So we'll take you back to last year, because things really changed. Before you came to the Oilers, you only played 59 NHL games. I think people forget that. And last year you kind of got your big break because of someone else's injury. Of course, Henrik Lundqvist went down. You played 25 games. You went 18-7. And this is Lundqvist obviously getting injured here, and sorry that we have to show that, but I guess it tells the story. But take us through your mindset, knowing that, first of all, you have to make sure the Rangers win, but this is a huge opportunity in your career. It was, and where we were in the standings when Hank went down, I think we were in the 2nd wild card spot, so a lot of people were kind of iffy whether or not they should go out and trade for a goalie, but the team had faith in me, and the guys had faith in me, and I just went out there and I tried to play my game and give us a chance to win every night. And the guys played great in front of me, and it was a great run I was able to go on until Hank was able to get healthy. So this is a game March 8th versus Chicago. Do you remember that game? It was a shutout. Yeah. You guys won in overtime. Yeah. They go on to become the Stanley Cup champions, so obviously a pretty good team. Yeah. Like, that game had to feel pretty good. Yeah, I think that was one of my highlights from last year. I think it was Brassard scoring the overtime goal, and that was a huge game for myself to prove that I could play in those big games and come up with the big stops when I needed to, and give us a chance to win against a Stanley Cup caliber team. So I think that was a big game for my career. You kind of went through your first big contract negotiation too here with the Oilers. You end up signing a 3-year deal in January, and you had a little celebration after with some of the boys and the wives, of course. And did that weigh on you at all this year, the contract negotiation? Not really, because we knew that because I'd signed an extension last year in New York, we couldn't technically start negotiating until January anyways. So the first half of the season, I mean, you can't really think about that. There are no negotiations. You just have to go out there and play. So I think that made it a little bit easier. Once I kind of started getting rolling and stuff like that, and we started talking, it was a pretty quick process. Both sides wanted to come to an agreement pretty quickly, and we were both really happy with the deal.
And of course, that was Matt Hendricks and Eric Greiba in that photo, and the wives, and you guys went out and celebrated, and good on you for that. And I remember talking to you earlier this year. I think we were in Vancouver, actually, and December 11th, the New York Rangers come to town, which, of course, your old goalie coach comes to town, Benoit Allaire, and it was during, this is a picture of him and Henrik Lundqvist with their time at the Rangers, but you had a brief conversation with him as they were doing their pregame skate that just kind of helped settle you a little bit. Tell us a little bit about it.
He basically just told me what he told me last year. When I started filling in for Hank, I think I started to think about who I was filling in for, and started to get in my own head and think about filling his shoes as opposed to playing my own game. And I think that's kind of what he told me again this year, is just go out there and be Cam. You don't have to play like anyone else. You don't have to do too much. Your game is good enough, and that's what I took from that, and went out there the next game against Boston and had a good game and tried to keep it rolling from there.
We had a great game against Boston. It was 47 saves, actually. It was a career high for this year anyway. And I'm curious to know, because the next night you guys were in New York. And did you know at this point if you weren't going to be playing in New York, and did that play a factor in this performance?
No, I wasn't sure what was going on. They didn't tell us I wasn't playing until the day we got to New York, actually. So I was hoping I was going to get to play back at MSG, but because of the workload that I had the night before, Todd thought it was better with the travel to go back to Nilly that game. So I totally understood that decision, and especially on such a taxing night the night before.
You've had some great goalie masks over your career, but of course when you come here to the Oilers, you get to change them up a little bit, and you kind of kept the goal busters or ghost busters, however you want to do it. But this one here pays tribute to, of course, all the Oilers of the past. And how special was it to receive this? It
was really special. I came up with the idea just it's the last year at Rexall, so I had Dave Gunnarsson, the painter, paint. He actually came up with the idea to hand sketch all the Oilers who have their jerseys retired here. So I thought that was kind of a cool tribute to them, especially being the last year at Rexall place. So it turned out great, and I think the night that Glenn Saylor's name was retired, I got a couple guys to sign it on the top, so it's a pretty special mask for me. Well,
it's definitely pretty sweet for sure. Now, you moved to Alberta, and I live in Alberta too. I live in Calgary. And you have to get a pickup truck. I mean, it's your first ever pickup truck, and this is a beauty. It's called the Dark Knight, and how this beautiful vehicle came about.
It was actually a contest for fans. Myself, Jordan Eberle, Taylor Hall, and Nail Yakupov, at the beginning of the year, we were able to they asked us if we wanted to host this contest and stuff like that. Fans could enter online. 4 fans were picked, and they got to come to the Ford dealership, help us pick out a truck, and I think they gave us, each dealership gave us $10,000 to kind of pimp your ride sort of thing, and fans got to vote on them later on. Nails ended up winning, but I still get to drive around a pretty cool truck.
And thanks for driving it tonight for us, because we actually were able to get a photo of it. But you also spent time recently at the Ronald McDonald House, and I know we talked this morning how special that was for you, and also that you really want to try and find a charity here in Edmonton that you fall in love with. Just some of your thoughts on your interests in charity and what you'd like to get involved with.
I mean, I'm a big fan of giving back to the community and
your wife,
giving
Kelly?
my time. Yes, my wife, she's big into that stuff too. So when they said that they were going to the Ronald McDonald House, originally it was just the wives, but they said bring your husbands and stuff like that if you want to, if they're available. So of course I agreed, and so did Eric and Clenny there. So I mean, it's so much fun to hang out with the kids. We decorated cookies, made Valentine's cards, colored and stuff like that. So I mean, it's just nice to bring a smile to their face in what's more or less a pretty tough time in their lives.
And Cam, I know you're one of the first players to sign up when the Oilers ask you guys to do stuff for charity, and we really appreciate you signing up for this. So thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, guys.
George.
Thank you very much, Cass. Thank you very much, Cam. As a man who owns a pickup truck, let me tell you, one of the best things to live.
So do I.
It's amazing to have a pickup truck, especially in the snow. How'd you get your first pickup truck?
Brian Burke gave it away to the heavy hitter after every game. Whoever accumulated the most over the course of the season got a truck. So
it's the game sheet, right?
After the game, I'd be racing the game sheet, heavy hitter, heavy hitter, heavy hitter. Yes, yes.
That's a great way to do it.
And I gave the truck to my dad at the end of the year.
Oh, nice. That's a pretty nice thing to do. Absolutely. So the game was not without angry coaches, which is not uncommon in the NHL. But when you have Tom McClellan and you have Patrick Waugh, there's going to be some scrappiness. Taylor Hall has got into it?
Well, he just had some comments about the replay system. He said that he thinks it should go to a third party. He didn't envy the official's position. He said it's tough to expect them to overturn a call in front of 18,000 fans. He talked about the small tablet, the Wi-Fi, a lot of the similar complaints that we've heard throughout the year. But it's an issue. You know, there's people in the league who feel very strongly, and some of the officials feel very strongly, that you don't want to take the game away from them anymore.
You know what? And we talked about this in our pregame. I think that there's a disconnect more than ever between our officials.
Yeah.
We've seen it with players, coaches, Paul Maurice, as we showed earlier. And to your point, like, how far do we go? Do we tell them now, listen, this is a critical part of the game, but we don't
back off?
We don't really need you. We gotta, you know, go to smarter people here.
Well, it's not smarter people.
You know
I
what
don't
I'm
think
trying to say, though.
It's technology.
It's the technology.
Better technology,
Those gigantic
whatever. We need
video
better
screens in
judgment than
Toronto.
yours. That's what you're saying.
And I've always liked the officials a part of the
Right?
game.
Have
They're
to.
a fabric of the game. They're an important part of it.
have
We need
to.
them
We have to stay
a
that
part
way.
of it.
Yeah, but every sport has had to bring it in because there's just far more angles now. And if you get a goal wrong, when so much is on the line now, there's just I think that's gone. I think we're going to be in a more technology game. My favorite part, though, is the Wi-Fi.
I think his point is that it takes a long time to feed it in, and that's why the delays are so long. Like, George, it's hard to underestimate how tense this, I wouldn't know tense, but how difficult the situation is between the league and some people in the league and the referees and linesmen about this. There was a time earlier this year when I mentioned on air that there were people in the league who wanted to take it away from the officials. And one of the referees who I was really tight with, you know, he said to me, you know, you got to be careful because there are people who, some officials that will take this very personally, even if you're trying to be fair about it on the air. And so I don't think the players understand how big, how important or passionate an issue this is with the officials behind the scenes.
Because it should be.
And
because it's your job. Yeah.
Time will tell if whether or not they're upset by it or not will actually have any play. The two coaches clearly have stuff on their mind as it relates to the disallowed goals. We'll hear from McLeod, but first let's hear from Patrick Waugh.
Should not have been a challenge because there was a penalty. That's what the league told us. I mean, I was surprised there was a challenge. I mean, when there's a penalty, as soon as 16 touched the puck, the play should have been dead. And that's what happened to us the last game, and that should not have been a challenge on that play.
You know, a goal was allowed against us because apparently we pushed somebody into the crease. Today, first of all, we were allowed a review call. I don't know why we were allowed it, because if there's a penalty and we touch the puck, it's a dead play. It's not a goal anyhow. But I was allowed the review, so it makes sense that they would go over and look at it, and if they're going to review it, they would clearly see that Taylor was pushed into the goaltender. When I looked at it on the bench, and now when I looked at it after, I can read Sherwood or whatever kind of stick that McKinnon uses right in Taylor's ribs, pushing him into the goaltender. Now, maybe they didn't have that version. I don't know. I don't know what they get over there on the little iPad, but the one that I had, we could have had our meeting at the bench and it would have been a lot clearer.
The idea that a ref has to stand there and overturn his own call, is the system a little...
Well, again, I was surprised I got to use the call there. You know, if there's a penalty, and I don't know who put it in, Teddy put it in or somebody put it in, as soon as we touch it, if the hand's in the air, it's a dead play, so you're not even reviewing it. But he allowed me to review it, so I took advantage of it. You know, I guess in retrospect, he should have come over and said, listen, it's not even reviewable, you got your timeout back, and away we go. But he came over and told me that Taylor cut in on his own, and contact was made.
I love it. I don't even know why I was allowed to do it, but hell, I had the opportunity.
You know what?
I'm so confused.
This is the thing, and you heard what Waugh said, and we talked about this right after the game was over.
Right.
I think what the league has to do is they've got to send out a memo in the next couple of days saying, is this play reviewable or not? Because there's confusion. Because I will tell you, there's people in the league who don't think that's reviewable, and there's people in the league, and I'm talking about coaches, executives, league officials, who think that is reviewable. Because if it happens almost simultaneously, you can check it. So what I do is I think the league should send this all out to all the officials. all the teams, Kelly Rudy, all the broadcasters, and say, is this play reviewable or not?
I love that term, almost. Almost. You're saying simultaneous, right? Almost.
Why don't you just write it for me?
I'm a scientist. That's what we're going to talk about.
We're going to hear from Roberto Luongo and Jaromir Jagr on his special night and more when we come back.